Omagyan Timadandasya Ginangina Shalaka Chaksun Militam Jena Tasmai Si Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Shtapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadanti Swa Padantikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adigor Bhakti Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. My mind longs. Please, no children. Children can play outside. I think it's best they go out. My mind longs for the blessed vision of my Guru. My mind longs for the blessed vision of my Guru. It cries out like a thirsty chikora bird. My thirst is not quenched, and I can find no peace without the vision of that blessed person. O Lord and Master, your face is most beautiful, and the sound of your words impart deep wisdom. It has been so long since this rainbird has had even a glimpse of water. Blessed is that land where you dwell, my dear most friend and spiritual master. I give myself to you now and forever, O deliverer of my soul. When I could not be with you for just one moment, the dark age of Kali Yuga dawned for me. When will I meet you again, O beloved Lord and Master? I cannot endure the night, and sleep does not come to me without your audience. I will surrender everything to have your darshan once again. It was my extreme good fortune to meet you, O most saintly of all persons. And I will find you again in the eternal home where I meant to dwell. There I will serve you forever, and I shall never be separated from you, even for an instant. I am forever your eternal servant, O my beloved Lord and Master. Hey Krishna, in public places I glorify your mercy, which is granted to even the lowest creatures, and which enables me, even though I am lowborn, to live in this forest of Braj, the place where your great devotees who are filled with pure love aspire to take birth, even as a blade of grass. Having accepted the renounced order of life, my home is this Vrindavan forest. My bed is the soft dust of Vrindavan. The sky of Vrindavan is my blanket, and the flowering creepers of Vrindavan are my only belongings. The moon over Vrindavan is the lamp of my hopes, and my chanting beads are counting the days till I meet the divine couple, Shri Radha and Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. This is my last lecture for this year. Here. And, I was thinking today what to speak about. And I was looking outside, and this cyclone, I guess in New Zealand, this is a cyclone for you guys. Pitter, patter, pitter, patter. And I was thinking how, 5,000 years ago, Indradyumna inundated Vrindavan with rain after rain after rain, and showers and showers, because he was angry at Krishna for directing the Brajavasis to worship Govardhan Hill, which was providing all their substances, because the cows take the soft grasses of Govardhan Hill, and not worship Indradyumna. So I'm looking outside and I'm thinking, yes, this cyclone is kind of like Vrindavan And then I remembered that your beloved deities are called Shishi Radha Giridhari. So I thought, okay, tonight I'll speak about Govardhan Hill. Is that okay? I've done a lot of research, so you may find it very interesting. All authorized, of course. That baby me can go outside. So I thought I would cover 3 things, because speaking on these subject matters is unlimited knowledge. Krishna's pastimes are unlimited, ad infinitum. So regarding Giriraj, I thought we could discuss 3 things. The origin of Govardhan Hill in the spiritual world, the origin of Govardhan Hill in the material world, and how Govardhan Hill came to Sri Vrindavan Dham. 3 things. But first I'd like to quote, just to open it up and set the right atmosphere, I'd like to quote a verse which was composed by Nanda Maharaj's younger brother. It's a family. We don't often hear about the relatives, but Nanda Maharaj has a younger brother named Sananda. Can you say that? Sananda. Yeah. And it's a prayer that many Gaudiya Vaishnavas chant when beginning their Govardhan Parikrama, when they're halfway through and as they finish. Traditionally, the Brajabasis, many of the Brajabasis, they say it 3 times. Namo Vrindavan Ankaya Tubhyam Goloka Maline Purna Brahma Tapatraya Nama Govardhanaya Cha. My obeisances to you, Giriraj, who are the crown of Goloka, and who sits on Vrindavan's lap. My respectful obeisances to Govardhan, the parasol of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's on the tongue of every Brajvasi. So, when we speak about the origins of Govardhan Hill in the spiritual world, it's very deep and it's very esoteric. And of course, in one sense, there's no question of Giriraj's origin, because anything and everything in the spiritual world is eternal. We often summarize the spiritual world is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. But these things happen for the purpose of rasa. It appears that there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. Actually, in Braj, the pastimes that we read about in Krishna book, and in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, in the writings of the Goswamis, these pastimes, of course there's many more, but even these pastimes are performed over and over and over and over and over again, like the the tax pastime. There's so many times when Krishna's, the gopis are going with their milk products to sell them in a village somewhere, and Krishna stops them and he taxes them. There's many varieties of that, many, many varieties. But the beauty is that Purnamasi makes it that in the spiritual world, every time there's an old, quote-unquote, pastime, it feels brand new. Just like I mentioned this the other day, the first time you came to the temple, it was special. The first time you were in Kirtan, remember? Special. I remember the first time I took Halava, I started laughing like a madman. It was intoxicating. The first time you met your best friend, the first time you met your wife, your first child, your first home. Here in the material world, those experiences come and then they fade. But in the spiritual world, each pastime, although performed many times, it's like the first time. All glories to Mother Purnamasi. What a wonderful concept. Therefore, Mahaprabhu says in the Shikshastra compares, this Sankirtan movement, meaning the chanting of Hare Krishna, gives us the taste we've always been hankering for millions and millions of lives. This is what we've been looking for, and we found it by the grace of Srila Prabhupada. Now in Garga Samhita, which several times Srila Prabhupada gives authority to in his darshans, his lectures, and there's also a reference to Garga Samhita in his purports on the Srimad Bhagavatam. In chapter 39, verse 1 to 46, it's written that once upon a time in Goloka Vrindavan. I was brought up in America and we'd read fairy tales and Aesop's Fable. My parents would read it. It always started out, once upon a time. But in the Krishna book, Prabhupada uses this introduction twice. I thought, that's amazing. Prabhupada's so tuned in. Such a wonderful way. Once upon a time. In Goloka Vrindavan, in the spiritual world, Krishna, Srimati Radharani, and the gopis were sitting in a very beautiful grove. A grove in Brajabhasa is called Kunja. Like we chant Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. We sang it. Bihari means the enjoyer. So enjoyers. So Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Radha and Krishna are enjoying in these beautiful pastoral kunjas, nice soft grass, flowers, bumblebees, trees ripened with fruit, beautiful temperature, not too hot, not too cold. Kunja Bihari. Kunja Bihari. And in this particular grove where Radha and Krishna were resting, there were, let me remember, multicolored umbrellas, flower awnings, and strands of pearls everywhere. And the air resonated with the sound of the flute and mridangas, and all the cuckoo birds were singing the fifth note, the mysterious fifth note. And after some time, Srimati Radhika announced to her beautiful girlfriends, the gopis, she looked at them, and she caught their attention, and then she cast a sidelong glance to her beloved Shamsundar. Like, so what? No. She's Premamai. She's the goddess of prem. She has the topmost love, Amala Purana, pure love for Krishna. So actually, Radha doesn't do what Krishna says. Krishna does what Radha says. And when she glances at him, it's like this dart of love that enters in his heart. And he's caught. He's hers. And many great devotees know this. Lord Shiva, Radha Kripa Kataksha Kapachi, he has that song, which I think every Brajabasi knows. Whenever I go to Radhakund, there's all these babas in the water halfway up, singing that song of Lord Shiva. My dear Radharani, please cast your sidelong glance towards me. We just finished a series of 6 lectures on Radharani's glance alone. So she glanced at her beloved Shamsundar, and then she said to him affectionately, my dear Krishna, if you're pleased with me and our ever-present festival of dance, I thought that was very poetic. My dear Lord, if you're pleased with me and our ever-present festival of dance, then please fulfill this one desire that has been burning in my heart for a long time. So without a moment's hesitation, Krishna said, my beloved, what is your desire? I'll happily grant whatever you wish. So Radha leaned over, this is all Garga Samhita, and whispered into Krishna's ear, my beloved, somewhere in Vrindavan forest by the bank of the Jamuna, please create a very beautiful and very secluded place where we can hold our pastimes. This is the essence of this discussion tonight. My dear beloved, somewhere in the Vrindavan forest by the bank of the Jamuna, please create a very beautiful and a secluded place where we can hold our pastimes together. So then Krishna, he sat with half-closed eyes in meditation. He's the master of the Yogeshwara. So he sat in meditation, his eyes were half closed. And Garga Samhita said, he searched in his heart for the most perfect fulfillment of Radha's request. He searched in his heart. Then, as Radha and all the gopis looked on in amazement, a golden droplet of pure love We're quoting directly here. A golden droplet of pure love appeared from Krishna's heart. And it lingered in the air for a moment, and then it dropped to the ground and quickly transformed into a mountain. Giriraj Govardhan Ki. What else do we want to hear? Internet and all the thousands of books in the libraries and the chitter-chatter of mundane people. Bhagavatam says they have so many subject matters for discussing. All puna, charita charvananam, chewing the chewed. I had a friend in school, he always chewed gum when teachers wouldn't let him, so he'd stick it under the table and come back the next morning and start chewing it again. I think he chewed on the same piece of gum my whole senior year in high school. So, like that. But these are the things we want to Shravanam Kirtan, hear and chant. Now this golden drop transferred into a mountain, and it's described with palatial caves, with crystalline flowing streams, flowering trees, and a network of vines, and many, many colorful, beautiful. I could talk to birds. Birds. Now, the Acharyas say that even Krishna was amazed how his love had manifested as a golden drop and transformed into a mountain. He's the master of all mystic power. That's right there in the Bhagavad Gita. And what's just as amazing is that moments later, this mountain expanded into 100 golden peaks. 100 golden peaks that is described defeated the beauty of Lord Narayan's palaces in Vaikuntha. Of course, Vaikuntha is Aishwarya Bhav, awe and reverence, which is fine. Actually, we're practicing that stage right now. But in Braj, the love is spontaneous. So just in your mind's eye, think of a mountain with 100 peaks. So when this mountain manifested the 100 peaks, all the Brajbasis who accept whatever Krishna does, sometimes they think maybe he's a demigod or a supernatural boy, they think, because he's doing all these amazing things. He's just the same age. He plays with them, and sometimes his friends wrestle with him, and he loses. So they all got together, all the Brajbasis, and they're thinking, well, Krishna did, this is amazing. A drop, golden drop, and now it's the mountain with the 100 peaks. So they began discussing, what should we call this new arrival? It's dated, this new arrival. So some of the elderly gopas, we have the gopis, the girls, the gopas are the boys, some of the elder gopas suggested calling it Satashringa. I have a disciple like that. Satashringa. It means the mountain with 100 majestic peaks. Hey, Giriraj, Govardhan, Lalavam, Siwalaki. But finally, everyone decided to call it Govardhan because it appeared as a perfect shelter for their cows. Go means cow, and Vardhana means to nourish. So these are all cowherd men, cowherd girls. Simple living. So for them, the cows are the opulence. Nanda Maharaj has 900,000 cows. 900,000 cows. And when Krishna, when he was young, he was given the opportunity to take care of these cows with his friends. So he would take them to different pasturing grounds. They really like to go to Govardhan Hill because at Govardhan Hill, the grass is very tasty. It's the most tastiest of all the grass in Braj. And that grass is not sharp. Problem with being a cow and eating grass is sometimes the grass is sharp and it cuts the tongues of the cows. But all the boys and all the cows, they want to go to Govardhan because Giriraj is very kind and they don't hurt their tongues. And Mother Yasoda takes that milk specifically for making milk sweets for her Lala, Krishna. So go Vardhana. That was, for them, that was more realistic. Then, suddenly, right before the Brajabasi's eyes, Giriraj started expanding. This is the Dham. Actually, the Dham is a person. The Dham, according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, is a manifestation of Balaram, Baladev. Baladev, he has a relationship with Krishna as Dauji. He's the elder brother, he's a little older, so he protects Krishna. But because he's an expansion of Krishna, Krishna's first expansion, but he's an expansion, he's subservient to Krishna. So he expands as Krishna's bed, as Krishna's slippers, as Krishna's chamara fan, so many things. And he expands as the Dham. When we walk on the Dham, we should remember Lord Balaram. So, and this service that Balaram does, because if you've been to Vrindavan, you know we have our Krishna Balaram Mandir. You could say essentially it's close to Seva Kunj, where many of the pastimes took place. But Govardhan Hills far away, Varshana, Nandagaon, Kamyavan. How did little Krishna, 5 years old, walk to these places up and back? Because the Dham, being a person, and bear in mind, everything in Vrindavan is a person. Even the ground, Brajrenu, he's one of the personalities who grants eternal residence in Vrindavan. Gopishwara, Govardhan, like that. So the Brajrenu, the dust, the ground, to facilitate Krishna's pastimes, the Dham shrinks. So Krishna walks a little distance, he's at Govardhan. He walks a little further, he's at Varshana. And then Krishna goes back home, and then the Dham expands outwards. Brajmandala means the greater circumference of Vrindavan, which has 60 billion holy places. Just imagine, 60 billion holy. So this is Braj, very mysterious, but absolute truth. So pretty soon, Giriraj covered most of Brajmandala. There was nothing but Giriraj. And our acharyas, Jiva Goswami, Sanatana, Rupa Goswami, they give a very, you could say, rasic explanation why. They say that because Giriraj came from the heart of Krishna as a manifestation of his love for Srimati Radharani, therefore the essence of Giriraj is prema. The essence of Giriraj is prema. And because the nature of prema is that it's always increasing, ananda bhuti bharavanam. Love in this world, it has a beginning, and it has a middle, and it has an end. But in the spiritual world, ananda bhuti bharavanam, love is increasing, 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 ad infinitum. Our materialistic minds cannot comprehend it, but it sounds good to me. It's always increasing. For who? For Shyam, for Radha Shyam, for Radha and Krishna. Oh, Krishna Balaram. So the nature of prema is that it's always increasing. So therefore Giriraj, because Vrindavan is the land of love and bliss, he expanded to the very limits of Brajamandal. And the Acharya said, that's okay. There's no harm in Giriraj expanding like this because he was simply following the dictations of his heart. He's prema, he's full of prema. He was following some service. Haridas Varya, there's two moves to Giriraj. He's Krishna and he's Krishna's servant. That's another lecture. But he was following the dictations of his heart. And nowadays people say, isn't it, just follow your heart. Okay, if I'm Krishna conscious, but you can't do that until you've reached the stage of anartha nirviti. Means that all anger, lust, greed, material desires, name, fame, it's all gone. Because if you follow a heart which is full of lust, anger, and greed, where will you go? Patta loka. So don't follow your heart, dirty heart. Therefore, we follow the hearts of pure souls, like Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Gaur Krishna, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Jagannath Das, Vishwanath, Baladev, 6 Goswamis, like that. We're very confident. We follow their hearts. And Giriraj Govardhan, because his heart is dictating to him how to expand to find prema for love of Radha Krishna. But then all of a sudden, Balaram spoke up and pointed out that there was a problem, because now in Goloka Vrindavan there was no room for anything else but Giriraj. If you went to Vrindavan then, it'd just be a mountain with 100 peaks. And there's a lot of other pastimes. So Krishna stood there for a moment and thought about this disturbance that his latest creation had caused. And he concluded, Giriraj has gone a little bit too far. Garga Samhita. So he chastised Giriraj. If anyone can chastise Giriraj, it's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Mother Yasoda can chastise Krishna. But this all increases the mood of love. So he said, hey Giriraj, why did you expand to such an extent without considering the feelings and the needs of others who reside here in Goloka Vrindavan? Then he gave Giriraj a little slap on his cheek. I thought that was cute. And as soon as he did that, Giriraj smiled and shrank back to his present size. So once Giriraj had been corrected, Radharani came forth to inspect, she requested this, remember? A little place where they could have their confidential pastimes near the banks of the Jamuna. So here it is, the drop, the mountain, the 100 peaks, expanding as big as bush, and right back. So now, this was all happening quite quickly, so now she had the opportunity to come and inspect this offering of love from the heart of Krishna. So she looked at Krishna and said, thank you, my love. And she took the hand of Shyam Sundar, and they went to one of the many secluded places, the caves on Govardhan Hill, to enjoy their discussions and their feelings and pastimes, transcendental pastimes. So Rupa Goswami, Prabhupada, who was the connoisseur of all these transcendental pastimes, he concludes. It's nice to have a summary, right? When you give, mundane example, when you give a public speech, you have an opening statement, and then you flesh it out during your talk, and then you have a concluding statement, which very often refers to the original subject. It's just, we learned this in high school. So Rupa Goswami, the connoisseur of all these wonderful pastimes that he shared with us, concludes, and you know this quote, that out of all the holy places in the creation, Vrindavan is the most auspicious. And out of the 60 billion holy places in Braj, the most holy is Govardhan Hill. And the most holy places on Govardhan Hill are the sacred kunds, Radha Kund and Shyama Kund. So wonderful. So that's the spiritual world, remember? Now one might naturally wonder how such an amazing manifestation of Krishna's love, Govardhan Hill, appeared in this nasty world. Dukkalayam Ashashvatam, we mentioned yesterday. What is this world? A temporary place full of so many miseries. Mritya Loka, a place of death. What's Giriraj doing here? Well, Garga Samhita states that one day, just before that, it was the time in Dwapara Yuga, because he's the Yuga avatar in Dwapara Yuga, Krishna himself, Swami Bhagavan. Just before Krishna was going to descend into this world for his pastimes, delivering the pious, annihilating the demons, and reestablishing dharma, primarily by speaking Bhagavad Gita, he approached Sri Radha. He was actually on his way to descend. Swayam Bhagavan means that he's avatari. There's many incarnations. Ete Chamsa Kalopumsha Krishnashtu Bhagavan Swayam. It's mentioned in the Bhagavatam. All the above mentioned incarnations, there's a list of the incarnations, are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions But Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. So he's avatari. So this avatari, this supreme personality of Godhead, who Jiva Goswami says in the Tatsandarbha, that the original name of God is Krishna. There you go. So many names we respect, but this is the original name of Godhead, Krishna. He comes into Pura Yuga, but Radharani is anapayini. It means that she's never separated from Krishna, which means Krishna's never separated from Radharani. So he approached Radharani and he said, "Oh beloved," it's interesting, "Oh frightened one, please come with me. Can we take these children out, please? The three of them should go out. They're not going to be quiet." Yeah. I can speak to them later. Give them some lollipops. "Oh beloved, oh frightened one, please come with me to the earth planet." But Radharani hesitated. It's interesting. Krishna's going somewhere, but she hesitates. Like if she's on a payini, why is she hesitating? So she said famously, "Yatra Vrindavanam nashti, na yatra yumana nadi, yatra govardhano nashti, tatra me na manashukam." Krishna, my heart cannot be happy in a place where there's no Vrindavan forest, no Jamuna river, and no Govardhan hill. Huh. Why? Well, we can understand in a very simple way that our surroundings very much dictate our consciousness. If you're in a bar or a disco or the bad part of town, you're not thinking very elevated thoughts unless you're a Sankirtan devotee. But in a beautiful place like this community with such a wonderful temple and beautiful deities and a great leader, Kalasamvara Prabhu, cows and horses and, pretend cyclones. If you're in this atmosphere, it's very easy to remember Krishna. Like, why do we go to Vrindavan? Why do we go to Mayapur, Puri? Because that atmosphere, it's surcharged. Prabhupada actually wanted us to go regularly. In fact, I remember in 1974 at the Mayapur festival, he said from the Vyasa-san, "I want all my disciples to come to the Mayapur festival every Gaur Purnim." And I looked at all the leaders, they were like, "Ah!" And they complained to Prabhupada that that means the Sankirtan will go down, there won't be much money. Prabhupada said, "I said it." Hare Krishna. He wanted us to come for that reason. So she said, you have to have the Vrindavan forest, the Yamuna River, Govardhan Hill. This is Braj. These transcendental items, these transcendental personalities. And Yamuna River is actually an expansion of Vishaka. Lalita and Vishaka are the two principal Sakis. And the Yamuna is an expansion of Vishaka. So she's not going to go unless they come. So at that point, Krishna, it's described, sent a portion of his own abode, along with Govardhan and the Yamuna, to the earth. And Garga Samhita concludes at this point, Vedanaka krosha bhumi, sapi chatra samagata, chatur vimshad vinayar yukta, sarvalokais javandita. That worshipped by all the worlds and filled with 24 forests, the land of Vrindavan came to the earth. Wow. Isn't there something in the Bible, on earth as it is in heaven? There's that line. On earth, like it is in heaven. When Lord Jesus appeared and the apostles, it was, they were speaking about Godhead and how to awaken our love for him. So on earth as it is in heaven. So Garga Samhita says, that worship by all the worlds and filled with 24 forests. That means there's 24 sub-forests, but then there's more sub-sub and sub-sub-sub. That worship by all the worlds and filled with 24 forests, the land of Vrindavan came to earth. So then, other shastras as well give hints about Govardhan Hill appearance on the earth, because we're earth, and specifically Bharat, India. Bharat, of course, was a famous king in the history of India. Purana means the old history, so in the Puranas it's described Bharat. But in Sanskrit, different words can have different meanings, so Bharat also means light. It means light. So India is a lot of light, not subtropical country light, but light in the sense that the light of knowledge. The light of knowledge. And because of that, the Vedas say that the most pious persons in the universe take birth in Bharat. Boys, the most pious persons in the universe take birth. So therefore Krishna comes and speaks to them. Because they'll be able to assimilate, practice, and realize that knowledge. You never hear of Krishna appearing in, Wellington, or London, or, Moscow. He appears in India because the people will listen to the message. Otherwise, it's like pouring ghee on ashes. Ghee can be put on fire. Of course, by the mercy of Chaitanya, you can pour ghee on ashes and you get a fire. Because he's even more merciful than Krishna. He, along with Nitai, are delivering. They delivered Jagai and Madai, and Prabhupada said very frankly one day, all the people in Kali Yuga are Jagai and Madai. No, don't say that publicly just yet. So, we heard how Giriraj manifested in the spiritual world that pastime, how Rani agreed to come here if Giriraj comes. So, exactly how did that take place? How did Giriraj appear on this planet? Bharatat paschima dashi samali dvipa madhyata govardhano janmalabe patnyam drona chalasyacha. West of Bharatvarsha, in the middle of Samati Dweep, Govardhan was born from the wife of Mount Drona. This is actually, we're speaking, this Samali Dweep refers to Dravidadesh, or South India. South India. Even today, South India is more traditional Vedic culture than the north of India. So it's mentioned Govardhan was born or appeared in Samali Dweep in South India. And his father was Drona. Now I was reading that at the moment that Giriraj appeared in Samali Dweep, the demigods started showering flowers. And then all the sacred mountains in the earth, in our solar system, in the material creation, headed by the Himalayan mountains and Sumeru, they came to offer their respects. Wow. This would make a great movie. Steven Spielberg, is he still around? He could, this is the kind of movies we should go to. Can you imagine? All the sacred mountains came and they paid obeisances to this little Giriraj. And what did they say? It's recorded. Dearest Govardhan, in Goloka, which is filled with gopas, gopis, and cows, you are the mountain of Lord Krishna Chandra, the original personality of Godhead. Then they said, Tvam hi Govardhana nama vrinda ranye virajashe. Tvam no girinam sarvesham giri rajo si sampatram. Sanskrit is so beautiful. Girirajo si sampatam. You are named Govardhan. You are splendidly manifest in the world, in Vrindavan, and we say, you are the king of all his mountains. And then the mountains return to it says their residences. That's interesting. The mountains return to their residence. Now the next question is, how did Giriraj come from South India to North India, right? came to the world, he appeared in the south. So how did he get to Vrindavan? Not far from Delhi. That's also explained elsewhere in Brahma Samhita, or Garga Samhita, that when Krishna was trying to convince the cowherd community to worship Govardhan Hill and not Indra, he said, "The hill named Govardhan is the king of the kings of the kings of mountains. He was born from Lord Hari's own chest. He has come here by the power of Pulashta Muni. By seeing him, one becomes free from having to take birth again in the material world. By seeing him. You go and you just see him. You're an old person, you can't walk. Seeing him, it says, one becomes free from having to take birth again in the material world." Therefore, we have Govardhan Shilas. We have to be very, very cautious, very, very careful. Raghunath Das Goswami received his deity, his Ishtadev was a Govardhan Shila. He received it from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu said, you've seen that's a small Shila with Mahaprabhu's thumbprint in it. In Vrindavan you can see. He said, if you serve this deity according to all the rules and all the regulations, not Raganuga Bhakti, but we're sadhakas, we're aspiring, we're on the way. You worship you follow all the rules and regulations in deity worship. He said, one day within this Shila, you'll see the son of Maharaj Nanda, Krishna. Sometimes I meet devotees, oh my Giri Raj, I like to hug him. And no, that's not deity worship. We're worshiping Satan Bhakti. We're worshiping in the mood of awe and veneration, just like our beautiful deities. We worship them in the mood of Lakshmi Narayan. Krishna doesn't dress like this in the Vrindavan forest. How could he move around with the cows? But we start off like this so that we get the idea, God is great and I'm very small. He's the supreme and I'm his part and parcel, and I will develop this service attitude, and as we progress, then that's another lecture. So, Giriraj Govardhan. And there, in the end, if you were listening carefully, because Krishna is speaking a little bit ahead here, he's saying Pulashta Muni brought Giriraj to Vrindavan. Well, who's Pulashta Muni? I mean, I heard about him a lot, but when I researched, I was shocked. Pulashta Muni was born from the ears of Lord Rama. And he's described as one of the 9 principal rishis in the universe. I didn't know that. He's one of the 9 principal rishis in the universe. He's known amongst the sadhus, see, because sometimes you have to, if you really want to know Braj, you have to go out in the villages, little towns and villages, where people are still herding cows, taking water from the well, going to the temple both morning and evening, and like that. So these people know that Pulashta was born from the ears of Brahman. He's described as one of the 9 principal rishis. And he's an expert on holy places. If you want to know anything about a holy place, it's Pulashta Muni. In fact, there's a section in the scriptures in which he tells, I saw Bhishma Dev, just how to visit the holy places on earth. Like in the Bhakti Fest, we gave a lecture on how to enter Vrindavan in the mood of Akura, how Akura entered Vrindavan. Prabhupada said, you can't enter Vrindavan just by a car. It's a certain mood. You can be in Vrindavan and be in Maya if you're not properly trained. And you can be in Vrindavan here in Auckland if you're serving under the guidance of Kalasambhara Prabhu. He's also Brajbasi. So like that. So he was also amongst the sages I was reading, present at Kurukshetra when the solar eclipse brought Krishna and the residents of Vrindavan together. Pulashta Muni, wow, he was there, yeah, he saw it all. So actually the Ramayana describes how Pulashta Muni lived long ago on the slopes of Mount Meru. This Muni, Pulashta, it's described in the Ramayana. He lived on the slopes, or the ridges, or the caves of Mount Meru. And he was constantly engaged in severe penances and austerities. And it so happened that many apsaras, beautiful celestial maidens, would come to sport in the beautiful area in which he lived. They were just coming there, not to entice him, as sometimes the apsaras do. Indra sends them because he's jealous. Maybe these sages will become so powerful. They'll take my role as king of heaven. No. These girls would just come and they would bathe in these beautiful lakes there and so forth. And as a result, they would sometimes disturb his meditations. They're splashing, girls are giggling and talking and everything. So one day, he stood up, and he got up and really angry. And he became impatient with them. Can we close that door? Stop the noise. He became very angry. And he said, if any maiden should again be seen by me, she will immediately become pregnant. What a curse. If I'm here and I see a maiden, just by seeing her, she'll become pregnant. That's my curse. So from that time on, the girls carefully avoided Pulasta's ashram. However, it's described that there was one girl, she was the daughter of a sage named Trina Bindu. Interesting name, Trina Bindu. This young lady had not heard about the curse. So one day she ventured into the region where, Pulasta Muni was doing his austerities. And as soon as he saw her, it's described, she felt the symptoms of being pregnant. I don't know what that means, but maybe the mothers can tell us. She felt the symptoms of being pregnant. And astonished and fearful, she ran home to her dad, her father. She said, Father, I can't understand why I'm suddenly appearing pregnant. As yet, I have never had contact with any male. So her father, Trina Bindu, he sat in meditation. This is how things are resolved. He sat in meditation. By his mystic power, he understood what happened. Krishna is a Vikina Swarat. He's all-pervading by his energy, so he knows everything. But if you're connected to Krishna, sometimes these things you can also know. One time, one of my godbrothers asked Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, how do you know what all your disciples are doing? It's a good question. Prabhupada said, well, Krishna tells me. So if we link up with Yogeshwara, the master of all wisdom, sometimes devotees, they're empowered. They're actually empowered. So Trina Bindu, he sat in meditation, he understood. So he went with his daughter to Pulasta and said to him, O venerable sage, kindly accept my daughter as your wife. By your power, she now carries a child. Talk about immaculate conception. In the Christian tradition, one of the main points is that Mary and Joseph didn't conceive Jesus. She became pregnant by the divine will of God. Immaculate conception. We also have our immaculate conception here. O venerable sage, kindly accept my daughter as your wife. By your power, she now carries a child. Please, therefore, take her hand in marriage. She will surely render you very pleasing service. So Pulasta agreed. And he said to the girl, O gentle one, in due course of time, you will give birth to a highly qualified son who shall be known as Vishrava. Vishrava. And I searched, I couldn't find any information on Vishrava, but seek and ye shall find. So Pulasta, he would travel, he would leave home and he would travel, and he would preach and he would enlighten people. And when one time he came to Dravidadesh, South India, many great scholars, many great acharyas, Sri Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, have come from South India. Even today, a lot of the IT boys in America, they're all from Karnataka and down below. It's an interesting observation. So he came to South India, and there he saw Jonah's son. Remember, we heard how Jonah had this son named Govardhan, and all the mountains came to honor him. And at that time, Govardhan was a little older. He wasn't a baby. He was a young boy, young man maybe. It's described that he was famous for his medicinal herbs. Krishna says he's the ability in man. So all of you have particular things you're good at, and that makes up the Sankirtan movement. Sankirtan means the complete glorification of the Lord, so everyone has something to contribute. And this little mountain, Drona, he was known for his medicinal herbs. And it's actually described in the Padma Purana. The Padma Purana, Part 5, Section 5, Chapter 44. It's entitled Hanuman on the Drona Mountain. That was when, many of you know the pastime during the great battle between, Ram and Ravana. Lakshman was injured by, I think it was Indradyumna, in the final battle. And the physician, whose name was Susena, S-U-S-E-N-A, the physician Susena, he told Hanuman, or he told Ram to tell Hanuman, to go find the herb known as Vishalya Karani. It's like Sanjeevani. It can bring someone back to life. And there actually is an herb like that. Krishna says in the Gita that he's the healing herb. So people spent more time, studying the earth and growing these herbs. They wouldn't have to come up with all these toxic chemicals that we take when we need for getting better. Vishalya Karani. I asked a very well-known, 102-year-old Ayurvedic physician in Kerala. I said, do you know this Vishalya Karani? And he smiled. He said, yes, but I won't give it to you. Or you have to go to the mountains. I said, do you know where? Yes, I know where it grows. He said, someday I'll tell you. And the next month he died. Sanjeevani. So Susena sent Hanuman to find this herb, Vishalya Karani, which alone could save the life of Lakshman. And you know the story. Past time Hanuman went to the Himalayas, and he came upon this Drona mountain. Oh, I got it now. It's on the Drona mountain. It's on Giriraj. You attain eternal life by worshiping Giriraj. You don't die anymore. That's the secret. That's the real Sanjeevani, back to Godhead. So Hanuman went to the Himalayas, and he came upon this Drona mountain with all its medicinal herbs. But because Hanuman wasn't versed in this Ayurveda, he couldn't distinguish which plant was the correct one. So he uprooted a good portion of the mountain. You know the picture, he's flying back with this big mountain, part of it, to South India, where the herbs were extracted and they cured Lakshman. Now I read that a village is still on the side of what remains of Drona Mountain in the Himalayas. There's a village on the side of what the remains, because he took a part of the mountain, so most of the mountain's there. We still call it Drona in South India, but it's part of the mountain. There's a village there in the Himalayas. It's called Dunagiri. It's on my bucket list. Go to Dunagiri. It's said that the Dunagiri villagers have still not forgiven Hanuman for defacing the mountain they worshipped. And the villagers, this is, that's Ramayana and Treta Yuga. It runs in their blood, in their DNA. They have not forgiven Hanuman for coming and taking a piece of their mountain. And they hardly ever mention his name. There's a village. And in that village, Dunagiri, Hanuman's name is never mentioned. There's no temples to Hanuman. In villages and towns and cities in India, there's so many Hanuman, Charisa, they sing. No, don't do that. There's no pictures, there's no paintings, there's nothing. No Hanuman temple or deity anywhere in the region. And in the yearly celebration of Ramayan, because of course, when the villagers perform the theater of Ramayan, they perform it up to the point where Hanuman was asked to bring the herb, but they don't show in the play how he went to the Himalayas and brought back a good portion of their mountain. Isn't that interesting? Anyway, that's how the Drona mountain, or a good portion of him, ended up in South India. So we're getting close here now. It's in Bharat in South India. But despite being a portion, the Drona mountain, which Pulashta saw, was very large and very magnificent. I found a description of the Dronagiri, Giri means mountain, the Dronagiri that Pulashta Muni saw when he went. It's amazing what the scriptures reveal. It's like a treasure chest. You can just deep, sapphires, pearls, emeralds. These facts, details in the love. Love is in the details. Here's a detail of what Pulashta Muni saw when he came and took this portion. Quote, "The mountain was filled with flowering Madhavi vines, heavy with abundant fruits, filled with the sounds of gushing streams, peaceful, auspicious, with many caves, suitable for performing austerities, filled with jewels, charming, wonderful, with many colorful minerals, beautiful with graceful slopes, filled with many birds, deer, and nectar trees, and decorated with peacocks' calls, and which gave liberation for they who yearn for it." Wow. You worship the mountain, it will give you liberation. So Pulashta, described at this point as the tiger of sages, he approached this Dronagiri that Hanuman had brought and was residing, and had a little son called Giriraj, and said to the mountain, "O Drona, you are the king of mountains. You are worshipped by all the demigods. You are filled with transcendental medicinal herbs, and thus you always restore the people's lives." This is Govardhan's daddy. "I come to you with a request. I'm a great sage. I live in Kashi." Kashi means Benares, Varanasi. It's a flat area. "I live in Kashi. Please give me your son Govardhan. I do not wish anything else." So when I read that, I read it quite quickly and I went back. I did not wish anything else. Hey, that's what we're aspiring for too. Giriraj is none different than Krishna. And all we want is Krishna. I know no one but Krishna is my Lord. He should remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace. You know that. He's everything to me, the gopis. They only want Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hey, Ram, Raghava, Ram, Raghava. So I thought that was, I did not wish anything else. When and when will that day be ours? "I wish to take him to Varanasi, where there are no hills or mountains. I will perform austerities on your son Govardhan, who is filled with trees and vines. That is my desire." So Drona turned to his son, Govardhan. Remember, Drona had come from the Himalayas and then he had a son, Giriraj. He said, "Oh, little Giriraj, go with the sage to beautiful Bharat, the land of karma, where the people attain the three goals of life and even liberation in a single moment." So then little Giriraj, she said to Pulashta Muni, "O sage, how will you take me? I am 8 yojanas long, 5 yojanas wide, and 2 yojanas tall." For all worshippers of Govardhan Shilas, here's a wonderful detail about your Ishtadev. At that point in history, I am 8 yojanas long, 5 yojanas wide, and 2 yojanas tall. So Pulashta Muni said, "Oh, my dear son, thank you. Please sit on my hand and I will carry you to Kashi." Then Govardhan said, "I will stay where you place me, and I will not leave that place. I promise you this." There's different varieties because these pastimes happen in different millenniums. This was Garga Samhita. So Pulasta said, as I take you here from Samali Dweep to Kashi, I will not put you down along the way. I promise you this. So with that, Govardhan bowed down to his father Drona and climbed up onto the sage's hand. And scripture says, carrying the mountain in his right hand, Pulasta Muni showed his great power to the people. Moving very slowly, he soon came over the sacred land of Brajmandala Ki. And looking down, Govardhan thought to himself, Govardhan's in the hand, but he's looking down. He's thinking, Govardhan, Shri Krishna, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the master of countless universes, will one day descend to this place, Braj, and enjoy childhood playing with the cowherd boys, and then the pastimes of youth. For this reason, I should not leave this place where the Yamuna flows. Sorry, Ball. Giriraj didn't want to leave Braj. And Braj didn't want Giriraj to go, neither did Radharani. So Govardhan made himself very, very heavy in the sage's hand. And Pulasta had to put him down. And after bathing in the Jamuna, Pulasta Muni came back and said to Govardhan, all right, stand up. But Govardhan didn't stand up. And even when the sage tried to lift him by his mystic powers, he couldn't do it. And after that, Govardhan reminded the sage that he had said that anywhere he was put down, he would stay there. You know, Pulasta Muni became very angry. You know, this is the nature of these sages. They can bless you and they can curse you. The blessing is very powerful and the curse is also very powerful. So you don't want to offend sages. So Pulasta Muni became angry and he cursed Govardhan. Shuri giri tvayati dushtatena nakrito me manu rata. Tasmatu tila matsanam hi nityam tvam shina tvam baraja. O arrogant little mountain, you would not fulfill my desire. Therefore, every day you will become smaller by the size of a sesame seed. You'll shrink. Every day you will become smaller by the size of a sesame seed. And to make a long story short, indeed, ever since then, Giriraj has been shrinking the size of a sesame seed every day. You may not notice it, but this is fact. The power of a sage's curse. He's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Unfortunate as that may be, Garga Samhita ends the Leela with a beautiful shloka. I'll recite it to you. Yavad Bhagavita Ganga Yavad Govardhano Giri Tavat Kale Prabhavasvas Tu Bhavishyati Na Kachit. As long as the Bhagirati Ganges is present, and as long as Mount Govardhan is present, the power of Kali Yuga will not prevail. Wow. Ye Giriraj Govardhan Ham Sivala Ki Jai Ho. Did you hear that? As long as the Ganges is present, Mother Ganges, and as long as Govardhan is present, the power of Kali Yuga will not be present. So you have a Govardhan Shila, you think like that. Hey, Kali, hut! In closing, I'd like to mention that Rupa Goswami has another version, why Giriraj is shrinking the size of a mustard seed or sesame seed every day. That's my favorite. He writes that after Krishna left Vrindavan, Radharani and the gopis, they searched everywhere, the whole Braj Mandala. They looked behind trees, behind rocks, caves, rivers, and they think this can't be true. Krishna's left. We'll find him. They couldn't find him anywhere in Braj Mandala. So as a last resort, they came to Govardhan Hill. They said, surely he's here. He and his cowherd friends, Krishna and Balaram and their friends, They would come regularly to Govardhan Hill for their cows. He must be here. It's one of his favorite pastime leelas. So they went around Govardhan Hill 12 times looking for Giriraj. 12 times, all the gopis, 1, 2, slowly looking here and there. But they couldn't find their beloved Shyam Sundar. So finally, they accepted the transcendental reality that Krishna had left Braj. And being the humble girls that they are, they were thinking maybe the ladies of Mathura are showing deeper love for Krishna than them. And that fact has attracted them to Mathura. They're better lovers of our Krishna. These beautiful ladies in Mathura. They're showing a deeper love for Krishna. Therefore, he went to Mathura and he hasn't come back. And thinking like this, all these Braj Gopis, they fell to the ground and they cried and they cried and they cried. They'd given up all hope. Remember, they're at the foot of Giriraj Govardhan. So Giriraj Govardhan, seeing this, out of compassion, out of sympathy for the Braj Gopis, he started shrinking. And he's still shrinking, the size of one sesame seed or mustard seed every day. I like that version. Dear Prabhus, that is Giriraj, and that is our beloved Sri Vrindavan Dham. And we will grasp and understand, appreciate, and love these pastimes. Maybe one day we could enter into those pastimes, but all by the grace of Srila Prabhupada. I always like to say, Srila Prabhupada is the revealer of the Dham. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Giriraj Govardhan Vamsavali Ki Jai Ho! Giriraj Govardhan Ki! Shri Shri Radhagiri Kare Ke! Jagannath Baladeva Ki! Om Nitai Ki! All the assembled devotees Ki! Your illustrious leader, Kalasambar Prabhu Ki! Back home, back to Godhead. Take all the 14 worlds with us Ki! Go Pimanande! See you next year. Hare Krishna.